What's up everyone, how's it going? This is Waj. Hope you guys are all doing well. Now, the GTX 1060 is probably one of the best bang for the dollar graphics cards you can get right now from Nvidia. And if you're willing to spend a little bit more, one of the most powerful cards that we've ever tested out is this one from Gigabyte. It's their new Xtreme Edition GTX 1060. We're going to talk about some of the capabilities of what this thing has to offer, including this very unique looking design. It has integrated RGB lighting, a very beefy cooler that makes this card into a 2.5 slot card. So you definitely want to make sure you have some room in your system to accommodate this beast of a graphics card. And as you can see, side by side of a conventional GTX 1060, it's certainly a lot larger in pretty much every regard. But with this size comes some potential benefits, especially utilizing the new WindForce 2X cooling system from Gigabyte, where we have two special design 100mm fans that are rotating in alternative directions. So the fan blades are actually designed to spin in an inwards fashion. Gigabyte claims that this will reduce overall air turbulence and increase heat dissipation. The actual Beefy heatsink itself is actually made out of angular, uneven aluminum fins, which should maximize overall heat dissipation surface area. And with a larger heatsink, that means that the fans can run at a lower RPM. Therefore, the operation of this card is as quiet as possible in high demanding gaming applications. Now, one of the cool things about this GPU is that it actually has integrated VR support. Now, what that means is that at the back of the card, you actually have two dedicated HDMI connections for an Oculus Rift or an HTC Vive or whatever VR headset that you want to plug into, on top of the three DisplayPort connections, one HDMI, and a single dual-link DVI connection that you get on most graphics cards. That means you can actually set up a proper three-way 4K triple monitor configuration on top of using a VR headset that requires two HDMI connections. So this has definitely a lot of capabilities for some versatile type of setups, and there's several different setup configurations that you can configure to maximize whatever your specific design and configuration will be. On top of that, for all you extreme overclockers out there that want to push the voltage to the max, there's also an 8-pin PCI Express connector rather than the 6-pin that you get on standard GTX 1060s. Now, when it comes to the factory overclocked, it's clocked fairly aggressive. Your core frequency on the OC setting, overclock setting, is around 1873 megahertz, and in the gaming mode, it can go up to 1847 megahertz. You can obviously push it beyond that if you so desire. Also, your memory clock is also boosted to around 8300 megahertz on the overclocked mode. Now, beyond those notions, this is actually the 6 GB version. Gigabyte also supplies a 3 GB version, but obviously it's nice to have a little bit more memory bandwidth, especially if you're going to play a little bit higher resolution games. And certainly there's a lot of titles out there that are utilizing more video memory. Now, what we did to benchmark this unit, we pretty much stuck with the factory overclock just to give you guys a basic understanding of what the raw performance is like out of the box. And of course, you can always tweak the core frequencies to your heart's desire once you get it, but it's always going to be variable on the specific card that you have. So we're going to stick with the factory settings, and we're using our 6700K system. You'll find the detailed description for our benchmarking rig in the description down below, but we're going to start with some synthetic benchmarks. Firstly, a good old-fashioned 3D Mark Firestrike, and we have the scores laid out right in front of you, starting with 1080p, 1440p, and 4K. So you can see that we get about 11,000 points, 6,100 points, and about just over 3,000 points respectively on this benchmark. Looking at 3D Mark Time Spy at 1440p, you get a solid 4538 points, which is relatively good. It's faster than pretty much any other GTX 1060s that I've ever tested with a factory overclock. And beyond that, let's actually take a look at my real world gaming benchmark results. We're basically going to just take a look at 1080p and 1440p settings, since I think that's a sweet spot resolution for a GTX 1060. You can play 4K, but expect most games to run around 30 FPS, which is kind of unacceptable at this stage of the game. So if you want a 4K card, you probably want to jump up to the 1070 or 1080. But let's take a look at the gaming results and see how this thing does. But besides all that stuff, guys, that's really it. I still think that the GTX 1060 is probably one of the best graphics cards you can get for the money. Certainly, there's a lot of other great options as well, but I just think in terms of how many games that are optimized for the 1060 platform is really quite excellent, especially at around 1440p, 1080p resolution. And for those that have a little bit more cash to spend but don't want to go all out on a 1070, this is definitely a nice little sweet spot to give you just a little bit more overclocking headroom, certainly better cooling performance, and a really cool aesthetic design with that RGB lighting integration, not to mention the incredible electronics and grade of componentry that's built into this GPU. But besides that, that's really it. We're going to have a couple of different build guides coming out featuring the new GTX 1060 for all you guys that are on a little bit of a budget and want to make a killer gaming rig for maybe $500-600. So definitely make sure that you're subscribed to the channel for that. Other than that, you'll find everything we talked about in the description down below. Thanks again for watching. Thanks for your support, and we'll see you later. Take care.